The Ottoman Empire, which had been a dominant military power for centuries, underwent a significant transformation in its approach to international relations. By the 16th century, the Ottoman Empire found itself not only expanding its territorial holdings through military conquests, but also seeking to consolidate and maintain its power through diplomatic alliances with European powers. This strategic shift towards diplomacy, which was once considered secondary to military conquest, marked a new era in Ottoman foreign policy. The rise of Ottoman diplomacy was in many ways a response to the changing political and military landscape in Europe. As the Ottomans expanded their influence across Europe, Asia, and Africa, they faced new challenges from both European powers and internal conflicts within their empire. The Habsburg Empire, Venetian Republic, and the growing influence of Russia posed significant threats to Ottoman interests. Faced with these threats, the Ottomans recognized the need to seek alliances and adopt a more diplomatic approach to ensure their survival and maintain their empire's vast territories. The first major turning point in Ottoman diplomacy came during the reign of Suleiman the Magnificent, who recognized that the Ottomans could no longer rely solely on military might to manage their foreign relations. Suleiman, who was known for his military campaigns, also began to cultivate alliances with European powers as part of a larger strategy of balance of power. His reign marked the beginning of a period where diplomacy became a crucial tool in the Ottoman Empire's foreign policy. One of the most significant diplomatic moves during this period was the Ottoman alliance with France in the early 16th century. At a time when the Habsburg Empire, ruled by the powerful Charles V, was expanding across Europe, the Ottomans saw the French as natural allies. This alliance was based on mutual interests. The Ottomans wanted to secure their western borders and prevent Habsburg expansion into the Mediterranean, while the French saw the Ottomans as a counterbalance to Habsburg dominance in Europe. The alliance with France marked the beginning of a long-standing relationship between the Ottomans and European powers. This diplomatic partnership allowed the Ottomans to gain significant advantages in Europe. It not only helped to deter the Habsburgs, but also allowed the Ottomans to access French military and economic resources, which were essential for their continued military campaigns in the Mediterranean and Europe. Suleiman the Magnificent also used diplomatic channels to bolster the empire's reputation and secure his position within the broader European context. By engaging in treaties, marriages, and correspondence with European monarchs, the Ottomans were able to create a more stable and prosperous environment within their empire. This diplomatic strategy, while still relying on the power of the Ottoman military, helped to elevate the empire's standing on the world stage. However, while alliances with European powers helped strengthen the Ottomans' external position, it also led to internal challenges. The Ottoman military elite, particularly the Janissaries, often saw these diplomatic alliances as a distraction from the empire's traditional military focus. Some factions within the Ottoman leadership also viewed diplomacy with suspicion, fearing that it might lead to the loss of the empire's territorial gains or lead to compromises in Ottoman sovereignty. Despite these internal debates, the rise of Ottoman diplomacy ultimately proved to be a smart move that allowed the empire to survive and thrive in an increasingly complex international environment. The increasing political significance of alliances also led the Ottomans to establish a more permanent presence in the international diplomatic arena. Sultan Suleiman's reign marked a shift towards the development of an Ottoman diplomatic corps, which allowed the empire to communicate more effectively with European states. Embassies were established in European capitals, and the Ottoman Sultan became an integral figure in European diplomacy, ensuring that Ottoman interests were considered in peace negotiations and political discussions. As the Ottoman Empire continued to strengthen its diplomatic ties with European powers, These alliances had a profound effect on the empire's political and military strategies. The most significant alliances during the 16th and 17th centuries, particularly with France and the Venetian Republic, allowed the Ottomans to achieve greater stability and strategic advantage. However, these alliances were not without their complexities and challenges, and their consequences for the Ottoman Empire were far-reaching. The Ottoman-French alliance was perhaps the most notable of these diplomatic agreements. After the establishment of a mutual understanding with Francis I of France in the early 16th century, the two empires formed a long-lasting strategic partnership. This alliance, often referred to as the Franco-Ottoman alliance, had far-reaching consequences for both powers. For France, the alliance served as a means to counterbalance the growing power of the Habsburgs, who controlled large parts of Europe. For the Ottomans, the alliance provided valuable military, political, and economic benefits. One of the most important outcomes of the Franco-Ottoman alliance was the Ottoman support for French campaigns in Italy and the Mediterranean. This support came in the form of naval expeditions, where the Ottoman fleet was sent to assist French forces in their conflict with the Spanish and Habsburg powers. In return, France provided the Ottomans with critical resources, including military advisors, trade relations, and diplomatic backing against their European adversaries. The military cooperation between the Ottomans and the French also played a key role in weakening Spanish control over the Mediterranean. The Ottomans, with their powerful navy, were able to challenge the Spanish fleet, particularly after the victory at the Battle of Preveza in 1538. This naval battle, which occurred between the combined Ottoman fleet and the Holy League led by Spain, was a major Ottoman victory. The success of the Ottomans in these Mediterranean campaigns helped to solidify their position as the dominant naval power in the region, preventing European powers from gaining full control over vital trade routes and territories. In addition to military cooperation, the Franco-Ottoman alliance also had political significance. The French recognized the importance of the Ottomans in maintaining a balance of power in Europe, and the Ottomans understood the strategic value of their relationship with France. By maintaining strong ties with France, the Ottomans were able to exert influence over European politics, positioning themselves as a key player in negotiations, treaties, and alliances. This diplomatic position allowed the Ottomans to secure more favorable terms in dealings with other European states. However, the Ottoman Empire's reliance on alliances with European powers was not without risks. While these alliances brought the Ottomans immediate military and political benefits, they also had long-term consequences for the empire. As the Ottomans began to rely more heavily on diplomacy, some of the traditional military strategies that had served them so well began to fade. The focus on alliances, while strategic, began to overshadow the military innovations that had originally made the empire a dominant force in the region. The influence of foreign powers in Ottoman decision-making also became a growing concern. While the alliance with France allowed the Ottomans to balance the power of the Habsburgs and other European states, it also meant that the empire became more entangled in European conflicts. The Ottomans found themselves repeatedly involved in European wars, often stretching their resources thin and leading to costly campaigns that did not always result in significant territorial gains. These military engagements, coupled with the Ottoman reliance on European support, placed the empire in a precarious position that would eventually lead to military overstretch. Another critical challenge that emerged from the growing Ottoman involvement in European politics was the increasing domestic instability within the empire. The powerful military and political class, particularly the Janissaries, began to question the direction of Ottoman foreign policy. The increasing reliance on diplomacy, while initially successful, led to friction between the military elite and the bureaucratic class. Many of the Janissaries saw diplomacy as a diversion from their military duties, and the rise of European-style diplomacy was met with resistance from the more traditional factions of the Ottoman court. Despite these internal tensions, the Ottoman Empire's diplomatic strategies in the 16th and 17th centuries laid the foundation for future Ottoman foreign policy. The use of diplomatic alliances and marriages with European powers became a hallmark of the empire's approach to dealing with the shifting dynamics of Europe. These alliances not only allowed the Ottomans to maintain their empire's stability, but also helped to create an intricate web of alliances that would play a role in the empire's future challenges. The Ottoman Empire's alliances with European powers also marked the beginning of a new era in Ottoman diplomacy, one that would focus not just on military conquest but on balance of power, strategic partnerships, and the careful negotiation of alliances. By carefully managing its relationships with European powers, the Ottomans sought to secure their place in the complex political landscape of Europe and the broader world. By the late 17th and early 18th centuries, the once strong Franco-Ottoman alliance began to weaken, and the Ottoman Empire faced a shift in both its diplomatic priorities and its political landscape. While the alliance with France had been instrumental in countering the growing Habsburg and Spanish dominance, the changing balance of power in Europe led the Ottomans to reconsider their diplomatic relations. The empire, long accustomed to working with European powers through alliances, was now confronted with new dynamics that challenged its ability to maintain its influence in Europe. The Franco-Ottoman alliance, which had been a cornerstone of Ottoman diplomacy for over a century, began to lose its importance during the reign of Louis XIV of France. France's internal issues, as well as its increasing focus on European conflicts like the War of Spanish Succession, made it more difficult for the Ottomans to maintain their diplomatic ties with Paris. At the same time, France's growing rivalry with Great Britain and the Dutch Republic meant that the Ottomans had to adapt to the changing European political structure, finding new allies and redefining their foreign policy. This period marked a shift in Ottoman diplomacy. Sultan Ahmed I and his successors sought to diversify their diplomatic relationships, recognizing that relying on a single European ally could be dangerous as the balance of power in Europe was in flux. As the Habsburg Empire continued to grow in strength and the Russian Empire emerged as a significant player in European politics, the Ottomans turned to other strategies for securing their interests. The rise of Russian power was one of the most significant challenges facing the Ottomans in the 18th century. Russia's expansion into the Black Sea region and its growing influence in Eastern Europe posed a direct threat to Ottoman control over its territories. The Ottomans began to see the need for a diplomatic response to the Russian threat, which led to a shift towards closer ties with European powers that could help balance the growing influence of Russia. The Austrian Empire, a traditional rival of the Ottomans, also became a focus of Ottoman diplomatic efforts. The Treaty of Kukuqarnarka in 1774, which marked the end of the Russo-Turkish War, highlighted the complex nature of Ottoman diplomacy. Although the Ottomans had been forced to make significant territorial concessions to Russia, they were able to use diplomatic channels to limit Russia's influence in the Balkans. This treaty also signaled a shift in Ottoman diplomatic strategy as the empire began to seek alliances with Great Britain and the Dutch, hoping to use these alliances to counterbalance Russian and Austrian ambitions in Eastern Europe. During this period, the Ottoman Empire also began to recognize the importance of trade and economic diplomacy. As European powers increasingly relied on colonial trade and maritime routes, the Ottomans sought to use their control over key trading hubs, such as the Suez Canal and the Bosphorus Strait, as leverage in their diplomatic negotiations. By leveraging their strategic position in controlling important trade routes, the Ottomans were able to extract favorable trade agreements with European powers. ensuring continued economic stability despite the military challenges they faced. Despite the decline of the Franco-Ottoman alliance, the Ottoman Empire's diplomatic strategy remained vital for its survival. The empire's ability to navigate the complexities of European politics, forging new alliances and balancing rivalries, allowed it to remain a key player in international affairs. Ottoman diplomacy evolved from a system based solely on military alliances to one that included economic, political, and military considerations. The 19th century saw the final stages of the Ottoman Empire's diplomatic transition. The empire, weakened by internal strife and external pressures, struggled to maintain its status as a major power in Europe. European imperialism and the rise of nationalism in Ottoman territories challenged the empire's ability to preserve its influence. However, the diplomatic foundations laid by earlier sultans continued to serve the empire in its final years, allowing it to maintain relations with both European powers and neighboring states. The decline of Ottoman power in the 19th century ultimately marked the end of the empire's role as a dominant diplomatic force in Europe. By the time of World War I, the Ottoman Empire had been reduced to a shadow of its former self, and its diplomatic strategies had shifted to align with the Central Powers. However, the legacy of Ottoman diplomacy, particularly its ability to form strategic alliances with European powers, left an indelible mark on the region's political landscape. The rise of Ottoman diplomacy and its use of alliances with European powers is a testament to the empire's ability to adapt to the changing political and military realities of the time. While these alliances were often born out of necessity, they helped shape the course of Ottoman history and its role in Europe for centuries. The Ottomans were able to navigate the intricate web of European politics, utilizing both military might and diplomatic savvy, ensuring their place in the world until the empire's eventual decline in the early 20th century.